You ever go to LinkedIn or go to a conference and see somebody else who's just nailing it with their content marketing? And I'm always curious, how are they doing it? What does it look like behind the scenes? So in this podcast, that's what we're gonna explore. I'm gonna ask dumb questions of smart people to figure out how content marketing is working these days and how you and I can take away actionable steps for our businesses. Welcome to the podcast.
Ben Wise, I am the founder of Storied.
It's easy to write off social media and be like, okay, yeah, it doesn't work.
Adapt it to who you are.
Julie, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
So today we're talking about content marketing, specifically, what you do and how you help your clients. Tell us a little bit about the kind of marketing you do and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I specialize in content marketing, and content marketing is really, I like to refer to it as like the words and images that help tell your brand's story. So this could mean the words on your website. This could mean blog articles. It could mean the content that you're writing in LinkedIn or on Instagram, videos you're creating. It encompasses all of that. And I feel like a lot of businesses just don't know where to start when it comes to content marketing. They're like, I know I should be writing something, but I never know what to say. And so what I love to do is I love to help people to figure out, well, okay, what's special about your business? Like, why do you exist? Why are you better than your competitors? And doing all of that work ahead of time to build the foundation, then it allows the owner, the people working at the business, to be able to better talk about the business. And it's once you're able to start talking about the business because you've wrapped your mind around your business branding, then the content really starts to flow. So I love helping entrepreneurs and small business owners who are like, I'm just doing it. I'm selling things, but I don't know how to talk about it. And I say, well, okay, well, then we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out how to talk about it. And then once we've gotten that all out on paper, we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to have a lot of stuff to write about, and a lot of stuff to do videos about and create images about. And then once we go through all of that, it's amazing to see the transformation where they're like, oh my God, I feel like so much more confident. And it feeds into everything else. It feeds especially into their like elevator pitch, their intro, going to networking events, meeting people one-on-one, just being able to talk about their business. They suddenly can do it so much better. And they have that kind of like confidence in themselves that what they're selling is valuable and that they know what they're doing. And so branding isn't just about like being able to put all your stuff up on the internet and make people want to buy it. It's as the business owner being able to confidently talk about the value that you're going to bring your customer and why your business is in existence, really. Like, why are you there? What made you feel like you should do this? And how are you going to change the world? How are you going to change people's worlds? So that's a very, very kind of like woo-woo, crunchy way, I guess, of explaining what is. I'm not a very woo-woo crunchy person, but I do kind of see how it all connects. And it really, to me, I feel like the most important thing is for the business owner to be able to feel really good about what they're selling and what they're trying to do for people and believe that what they're doing is really valuable to people and is really going to make a difference for the people that they're serving.
Yeah, you need to have belief when you sell, right? Or a lot of other salespeople, maybe in a bigger corporation, don't have that. Tell me, how did you get into content marketing, Julie?
Sure. So it's very backward. My background is in theater. And so I was a working actor for many, many years. And I went to college and everything. I got that theater degree and I was a directing major. And so I got to learn all about different kinds of design. I had to take art history classes. I really learned a lot about everything you could learn about the theater. And then after acting and being a touring actor for many years, I moved back to Chicago, where I'm from. And I made a lot of friends in the theater community. And we eventually reformed a theater company that was failing. And we basically did a rebrand. And we decided, and this was back in 2009, before people were really not advertising their theater productions. And so that was where I really got my feet wet. I volunteered to be the social media manager. And I was like, I don't really know anything about any of this, but I like Facebook and I can figure it out. And the wonderful person, Eric Martin, who was our director of marketing for the theater company, he really taught me everything, all of the fundamentals of doing grassroots marketing. So he taught me about email marketing and web content and social media posts and video. And it was from there that I really got the bug. And then as time went on, I had kids, I had to kind of pivot my career, and I wound up getting an incredible opportunity to work for a very small business, which was, one person. She was an entrepreneur and she needed a lot of help. And it was an online parenting resource. And so with that opportunity, I wore 1,000 hats. I was in charge of creating so much content, building online courses, producing podcasts. I was in charge of all of our marketing partners that we had. I had developed marketing campaigns. I had to do, Facebook Lives, and it was crazy the amount of stuff we were doing. But I did that for about 8 years. And so I really got to see what it's like to be a small business owner and like the trials and tribulations that people go through. When that opportunity was over and I left that organization, I said, I really want to go off on my own. And I really want to help these small business owners who, especially those who have done really well through referrals and through people that are connecting them through their network. But I want to help people, especially who are ready to go to the next level. Like they're like, I really want to start finding people who are outside of my referral network. And I don't even know how to do that. Like, where do we even start? That's where I love to kind of come in and be like, okay, let's get a strategy together. Let's figure out your branding. Let's make a plan and let's make sure that that plan makes sense for your size business, for what you're trying to do, for the target client that you're looking to talk to and that you're looking to attract.
Well, let's take a step back to those clients for a minute, because I'm curious. Every marketer out there will position themselves differently in the market. Some will say they're more solution oriented. I help people with their SEO, right? That's a solution. And other people will say, I help you get clients. It's more generic. That's a very poor message, but you get the idea. They're more problem focused. So I'm curious, Julie, when you attract clients, are they specifically looking for content, or they just know they have to do something and you're the marketing person and like you guide them towards content? Tell me about that.
It's usually the latter, where they're just like, I don't even know where to start. I need somebody to hold my hand and tell me what to do. And I'm a really good hand holder. And I actually really enjoy hand holding. Some people are like, I don't want to hold people's hands. I want to kind of come in, do my work, and then peace out. And then I'm kind of done. I really want to connect with people and serve more as a fractional CMO. And so in case you don't know what that is, that's like a part-time contractor that's a chief marketing officer. So for small businesses who can't afford to bring on a chief marketing officer full-time at a salary with benefits, I will be there part-time for you. I will be, really in your business with you. And if you have a team, I can work directly with them to implement the marketing stuff so that you don't have to worry about it. Or I could bring in my own people because I also have a marketing agency. So I have an incredible team of SEO specialists, web developers, logo designers, like you name it. Google Ads people. So I have these people ready to go to just come in and just take care of it. So you can really outsource all of that if you can't afford to have, people on staff to do that. But that's really what I like to do, is to be able to be that hub, that like generalist for somebody, and be like, okay, I'm not the SEO expert. I'm really good at SEO, but like I got a guy who's even better than me at SEO. Let's bring him in so that you're getting like the cream of the crop of what you need for your business.
So you funnel a lot of your clients toward content. Tell me about, what does that process look like? How do you know if somebody needs content versus you just need ads?
It really starts all with my marketing assessment that I go through. So this is basically like, okay, I'm going to work on like basically doing a complete audit of all of your stuff. So I'm going to go and dig deep on all of the social channels you're currently using, all of the email marketing that you already have like automated and set up on the back end of your email marketing client. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to go to your blog. I'm going to read the content. And if I really feel like the content is really on point, it's, getting that message across. If your messaging is clear and clean and you're not like going on and on and on, because, after a certain point, people they stop paying attention. If I go in and I feel like, wow, your content is actually really strong, that's when I would say, okay, now let's look at ads. But the thing about ads is that like, you really need to make sure that that the revenue per client is really going to be enough to warrant ads. And I talk about this with my Google Ads chick, Sheila. She's phenomenal. And she's wonderful because she will not recommend ads if the client is just not really ready for it. And I really appreciate that she does that. She's basically, because I work the same way. Like, I'm not going to take your money if I don't think I'm going to be able to move the needle for you. But if the stars align and like, yeah, your average, average revenue from your average client is going to make it worth your while to spend, the average price, which is so different for every different industry. If it's worth it and it's really going to make a difference, then yeah, let's do it. And let's figure out like, but where are you going to do your ads? Is it better to do them on Google? Is it better to do Meta? Like, is it better to do TikTok? So doing all that stuff. And I really believe in like, hey, let's not spread the money out too much. Let's focus the ads on like one thing and see how that goes. And then let's measure it, because you can't just like throw money at ads and then expect in like 2 weeks that you're going to get like a ton of people. You got to really do it for at least like 3 months to make sure that you're really going to see the results. And then that after that 3 months, you'll really be able to determine if the ads are really going to be worthwhile or not for you.
What does a typical strategy look like for you these days when it comes to acting out a content plan? And then if you could speak to maybe the types of industries you're serving to, that would be good too for context.
I'm specifically working with a lot of professional services. So like bookkeeping, legal firms, things like that. And, a lot of their content revolves around topics that if you don't really know much about bookkeeping, or if you don't really know much about law, it's difficult to come out with content. So a lot of times what I like to do is sit down with what we call a SME, the subject matter expert from that organization, and interview them. And so I love to do interviews where it's recorded, and then I can take that transcript that AI just offers and then be able to be like, wow, I have a lot of really great content. Now, how am I going to make it not sound like a robot wrote it? How am I going to take all that information they just gave me on corporate governance or on how to use QuickBooks Online, and how am I going to make it digestible so that people don't fall asleep? I want to make sure that the content that I'm creating for these people, or through another content writer that I've hired to help out, I want to make sure that that content is going to really speak to the average person who may not really have a total grasp on what it is that you do. Because let's face it, most people have to hire a lawyer because they don't know what they're doing and they need help from a lawyer. And so learning about the topics that are going to be important to your ideal client, like you have to write it in a way that they can understand it.
And how do you do that?
I really like to come at it, like I was kind of saying before, from the view of somebody who knows really nothing about the topic. I don't really like to assume that the person reading has really any or much background. I guess it really depends on if depending on what the audience is, are we talking to a group of lawyers, or are we talking to a group of just average humans? And really breaking it down. I have a really strong background in teaching. I've taught theater courses, and I've taught courses on like accepting differences and bullying. I've done that with kids. And so with kids, like that's where you really have to be sure that like, okay, I'm going to give you a little information about what this thing is first before we jump in. And so whenever I am creating a new piece of content, I try to keep that in mind. Like the person who's really just like, wait, what are we talking about? what does this even mean? I try to make sure that I'm answering those questions before we really delve into anything deeper.
Now, how do you measure results for content? What is that? You go over expectations with the client? Do you set goals? Do you measure against those goals? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it is really difficult, but it is possible to set metrics for content marketing. But really, you're trying to figure out, how many eyeballs you're getting on that content. But then actual converting to sales, that's like kind of a different piece, right? So the way that I like to track things is really like keeping a record of the increase. So for example, when it comes to people upgrading their website, maybe getting new content on their website or a redesign with new content. It's okay. So do we have Google Analytics set up? Google Search Console? You don't even have that set up. We set it up because we got to let it hum for a little while, right? Like Google Analytics needs time to really kind of track and see how things are going. And then you'll be able to really notice if different activations that you do then lead to more people being driven to your website. And then are they being driven to the right parts of your website? How long are they staying on your website? What's the bounce rate? The bounce rate is, if somebody comes on your website and they're only there for 30 seconds and then they say, peace out, I'm going to go to another website. That's the bounce rate. It depends on how quickly people leave, or if they click further and then they go and see a second page, a third page in your website, then the bounce rate goes down lower. When it comes to like LinkedIn, for example, tracking, how people are engaging with your content, looking at the different kinds of posts. I do this with my client once a month that I help her write her LinkedIn posts. And it's like, oh, okay, that post that had a really cool graphic and asked a really engaging question, that one took off. Great. Okay, let's do more like that. These other posts where it was kind of just like informational, but it didn't really engage people. It didn't make people want to like answer. Like, maybe let's not do those as much. So it's always like a constant tweak. There's a lot of trial and error that you have to do in order to figure out what's going to work for your audience, because your audience is very specific to your business, and what somebody else is doing that's maybe similar to your business, it's still not you. So I always try to go into any kind of activation with my clients and be like, okay, just want you to know that things are going to be changing, and we need to kind of trial and error this and see what people are going to react to.
What was the best piece of content you've ever done if you look back over your career?
Oh my God.
What was the most successful one?
So the article that I wrote about my son for the parenting website when I worked there, I wrote a couple of personal pieces, but that one was very close to my heart because my son, when he was 7 weeks old, he was in the hospital because he could not keep down any formula. He could barely eat his formula without turning blue. And it was like, what is going on? And I found out that he had a condition called dysphagia, which I had never heard of. And it's basically where your air pipe just kind of like shuts off. And also like he had, like aspirating. He was having little bits of formula going into his lungs. I'd never even heard of this. I wanted to make sure that people out there, parents whose kids were having the same thing happen, had the ability to figure out that this was what it was. So I felt like very driven to write that piece. It was also it was very emotional for me to write that, to really just kind of put down all of my feelings and everything that we went through into one story. I really wanted to include a lot of information so that other parents could really learn from it and see if that could be something that they need to ask their doctor about. If I hadn't lived in the area I lived in and had access to such incredible doctors, I really thought that I may not have ever found out what was wrong with him. So that piece was a big success on our site, and it continues to this day. It's still up there, even though I don't work for them anymore. It's still like one of the highest ranking articles for like baby dysphagia. And I'm glad, because anything that I could put out there where it's going to connect with somebody on a level like that, like that's like I've left my mark on society. Like I've done what I need to do. I would someday like to write a book just so that I can be like, I wrote this book. But I feel like that one piece on that very specific topic that was really so close to my heart, I feel like that really resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you put the human experience and the emotion. It's a very emotional subject. A lot of frustrated parents, a lot of parents who are confused visiting that. And I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. Um, so we got a few more minutes here. Tell me about what have you learned in the last year that's working in the content world and what's not working? Break it down for us.
I think what's working in the content world right now is being real, talking about things that really resonate with your customer and sharing your own insights on, things that relate to your own life. That's what people are really gravitating towards. A really good story that people can connect to. And who knows what's going to happen to TikTok right now? That's up for debate in the US government. But I feel like that platform in particular, if you're a phony, people know it and they're not going to stand for it. And really quality storytelling through that platform, it just takes off. Like the woman, Risa Tisa, who just did her 50-part story, who the F did I marry? That was incredible. She got people to watch 50 10-minute videos. And I was one of them. Like that kind of story is absolutely her like follower count like blew up through the roof. She's been on like Good Morning America and the Today Show. And it's like now all of a sudden people are like, we want more. We want to hear more about you. People just want to connect. People want to know that other people are going through the same thing as them and that maybe that person feels the same way as me, or that person tried something that I haven't tried. And now I'm going to try that to maybe help my life be better. That's what people want to hear. I feel like the phoniness, especially around stuff that's generated from AI, people that just go on to ChatGPT and they're like, write a sales page for me. And then they just do copy and paste and then wash their hands of it. And they're like, yay, I'm done. No. Anything that and I'm not against ChatGPT. I use it a lot myself. Anything that you have AI write for you, you have to do some serious editing. So there is no easy answer with AI. It is never copy and paste because people are going to see right through it. And you're really not hitting where you need to hit.
So Julie, looking back, last question for you, looking back over your career, what would you do differently if you started over in the content world?
That's such a good question because really the first question is, would I do anything differently? And I think the answer is no. I don't think I'd do anything differently. I feel like I went through hell to get where I am today, but I feel like so much of it was all really important learning experiences. And if I didn't go through the things I went through, I would not be the person I am today. I really just started my business last June. And, the first year as an entrepreneur is absolutely a struggle. Even though I had 13 years in the marketing world, it was like starting my own business. You're like basically trying not to be at the point where you're eating cat food. So when I started getting to that point, and then I got an offer from somebody to like, oh, come into my, local business and help me make phone calls. And I was like, okay, fine. And I did it. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have realized that that was not a good choice for me. So like, basically I was like, okay, I really need some fast cash right now. This person's offering me like $20 an hour to make these phone calls. So I did that for like 2 weeks and I was supposed to go for a third week, but my kid was sick. And then I was like, I can't come in this week. And they were like, well, we're really sorry, but you have to do it from our office. And I was like, okay. They're like, don't worry about it. We'll finish it off. Literally that day, I was able to reconnect with somebody I had been working with and they signed up for like a $700 thing. It just goes to show you, like, I should have just stayed home and tried to get more of the stuff that I'm really talented at, the stuff that I'm really good at, the thing that I can do to really change people's lives. Like I should have just kept doing that. Who knows how many other deals I could have made while I was sitting in that office making phone calls for $20 an hour. But I had to do that. I had to go through that to really learn that lesson.
Great answer. I think there's a really good, important lesson there too, for me in learning to know what to say yes and no to. But you could argue the only way you get to learn that is through experiencing the stuff you don't like.
I know.
Right?
And that's so hard.
Well, that will end the show. Thank you, Julie. That was a very, very good way to put it. Where if someone wants to learn about you, where can they go?
They can go to my website, Julie Nichols Marketing. It is not Nichols like the money. It's Nichols. I get that a lot. JulieNicholsMarketing.com, or you can also find me on LinkedIn. If you do LinkedIn.com/IM/Julie Nichols Marketing, you can find me that way as well.
All right. Well, Julie, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me, Justin. This is super fun.